The tools I use to create my pieces range from a variety of clay working tools, but it starts with a tool called Maya. And I use it to sculpt my pieces. And I create relatively simple forms. And then from that, I make a foam mold to shape the clay slabs over to give it their shape and form. And then I go at them with various texturing tools and various implements that allow me to create the surface that I want and design it in a really beautiful and evocative way. My glazing process has really evolved, especially in the last couple of years. I had been using about 5 to 10 different glazes that I would mix up myself. And recently I've started to experiment with different commercial glazes and mixing them together, blending like one color on top of another color. I really get enthusiastic about mixing two interesting glazes together and coming up with a third. It's only rarely that the glazes combine to kind of synergize and create something more beautiful than they are by themselves. But it's worth the dozens and dozens of trials that I do to find those gems. When I'm first designing a piece, I'm focused on the form of it. I don't really think about the patterns that I'm going to put onto that until later, until I've got the mold done and the clay on it. Filling in the textures is a really fun process in which I use these textured rollers. One of my favorite parts of the process is when I get to open my kiln after firing it until I open the door. It's always like Christmas. And I really see it as a collaboration with the kiln. I'm kind of working with it. I have some control over, but I can never quite predict exactly how it's going to look when it comes out. So whenever I crack that door open and look inside, it's always a really wonderful time. And usually I'm pretty happy with the results. Designing my sculptures, the basic design of them has changed over time. Then I had a breakthrough about 3 months ago and created my latest piece, the Luminaires, the Spirit Guardians. It's really the process of discovering what your language is. Developing that takes quite a bit of time and effort and experimentation. I'd say usually my favorite piece is the one I'm currently working on. So that's a wonderful thing to really feel that my art is valued by the world and appreciated in a way that people actually want to plunk down money and live with it. Yeah, I definitely have a perfectionistic streak. I see flaws and errors and issues with my pieces that, I'll point it out to someone who's looking at the piece and they'll say, oh, I actually like that. So I've really come to realize that, that perfectionism is great in the initial stages when you're really designing things and bringing it together. But when you have a piece finished, you've got to say, okay, now it's done. And the first time I made a piece that was taller than me, it literally knocked me back with its presence. Well, up until the last 3-4 years, I'd say, my work was very much more geometric and engineered and pre-designed and pre-planned. Now, once I get the clay on the mold, I actually work on it right there and work intuitively to create the patterns on the piece. When it comes out of the kiln, just looking really beautiful. And like the various elements that go into it have really harmonized and blended together in a synergistic way. That's an amazing feeling. That's a really extraordinary experience that I'm actually creating something really wonderful and beautiful and completely unique. The fact that people actually want to take these home and live with them really inspires me to do my best work and to push myself even higher. And so after the art festival, I go and install the piece at all these various homes. And so I joke with people, I'm saying, yes, I need to come make sure my piece is going to a good home. And they invariably are. It's wonderful to connect with the clients. Oftentimes we end up having dinner or whatever and staying in touch afterwards. And to really be able to see the difference it makes in their environment and how they feel having my piece in their world. Like when they get it in their home, they're like, oh, it's just lovely. You know, it's like, I just love that part. And even though I have to say goodbye to this piece, it kind of, I really, there's very few pieces that I'm actually sad to see go, because it just really just opens up more space for me to bring more into the world.